So our first panelist and speaker is Pam Shearman, who is the program director for jail ministry at the Interfaith Committee for Detained Immigrants. And I love this introduction, but I didn't write, but it's terrific. Pam's a working mother and grandmother with a passion for justice and pastoral care. After a successful career in healthcare and marketing, she was able to pursue a new call to service. She attended the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago, earned a Master's of Arts in Ministry with an emphasis on Latino ministry. She's currently a candidate for Associate in Ministry with the ELCA. In her role, she is honored to be a member of the Latino Strategy Implementation Team for the Metro Chicago Synod of the ELCA. And as program director for jail ministry, she leads a group of 100 volunteers, 100 and growing, I hear, in pastoral visitation to people in jail awaiting immigration and asylum hearings. She and her husband, Jaime, live in the Chicago area near two of their children. Their other children live in Houston and in Bolivia. And her husband and she enjoy their 4 grandchildren immensely in the little bit of time she probably has to spend with them, given all the work, the amazing work she does. So Pam, we're welcome. Great to have you here. Welcome, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would love to talk to you about my grandchildren, but that doesn't seem to be appropriate today. So just a little bit about my own motivation. I come from a family that's only 2-3 generations in the U.S. We have a strong migration history. I live in a bicultural, bilingual family. We've been working 25 years with U.S. immigration to bring family members to this country. I still don't understand immigration law. I've worked for global corporations, and we had a meeting one day. We went to lunch afterwards, and we sat around the table and we said, do you realize all 5 of the major world religions are at this table, and we can get things done together? And I wondered why we could do that in business, but we can't do that in faith organizations as well. So after really changing and going to ICDI, I'm working very much with an accompaniment model in an interfaith setting. We are, as Linda said, the Interfaith Committee for Detained Immigrants, and we accompany those who are caught in an absolutely broken immigration system. We accompany people from the time they're detained to the time they're released. We have 5 ministries. We intersect first in 2 of the ministries. I have the jail ministry, where we deal with, we meet people who are detained. We also have just recently brought on an interfaith ministry to unaccompanied minors. There's a series of group homes in the Chicago area, and we take an interfaith service in. We are very explicitly faith-based. It's interfaith. And we have to talk about what does that word mean in a changing society. So we used to have a category, we ask on the application about your faith, we used to have a category called humanist. That category kind of got changed to eclectic. And as we continue to go through social change, now a number of my volunteers answer the question, what is your faith, by saying, I'm a person with questions and doubts. And that seems to be a growing faith, and that's fine. That's part of the spiritual journey. Our commitment is to accompany people on their spiritual journey, wherever they are. So this brings me to things like a visit I had just this last week. One of the men with whom I visited was so disappointed. He said, I really wanted to talk to you on the 21st of March. What is the 21st of March? Anybody? It's the official first day of spring. You all knew that. But to him, this is the day in the Aztec religion that the serpent comes down the pyramids, and we walk with serpents, and we encounter the sacred here on this earth. So we really do walk with people with their faith as a very important part of our ministry. We also have a very low barrier to entry. One of the things you can do is become a prayer partner with us. You can become a donor. We intersect with congregations who provide us spiritual material in the appropriate language and the appropriate faith of any of the people with whom we visit. We are also, as an interfaith group, absolutely non-proselytizing. This is not universal in jail ministries. There is a real issue when an organization goes in and deals with people who perhaps are struggling with PTSD or are absolutely in a time of crisis, and we tell them the one way to become right with God. And we make that a condition of participating in the ministry that we offer. So we are absolutely non-proselytizing, and that brings up a really important point on jail ministry, which is to always affirm the autonomy of the people with whom we visit. You may think people in jail can't go where they want to go or do what they want to do or even be who they want to be. We all have tremendous accountability and autonomy over, as we heard this morning, how do we frame things? How do we respond? Who are we called to be in whatever setting that we're placed into? How are we, in any setting that we encounter, called to be a neighbor, called to love God, called and love our neighbor? And so part of being interfaith and non-proselytizing means always respecting the autonomy, the giftedness of the people with whom we engage. In our particular work, we're accountable to many stakeholders. We're accountable to the people who are in detention. We're accountable to the immigrant communities in the Chicago area. We're accountable to all of the faith communities. We're highly accountable to the staff at the jail. They have a lot of rules, and we just kind of learn to deal with it. But we're building relationships all the time. And in terms of building the relationships, you also build influence. And so we are not an activist group at all. We are pastoral care. We do pastoral visitation. But in the process, we build relationships with the staffs at the jail, and we build relationships with people in immigration and custom enforcement in the Chicago field office. This gives us access, and it gives us influence. So as you look at what you're going to be called to do, and you think about how you will use your access to influence change, it is through relationship. And we have various partners, some of whom you're going to hear from today, at least in once or twice removed. LIRS is one of our long-term partnerships. The National Immigration Justice Center is another partnership. We have been involved in setting up national organizations like Civic, End Isolation. And so we're accountable to many, many stakeholders. We always keep that in mind. And we are also available and accountable to families. Through the kind of ministry that we have provided over the last decade, we are now in a position where when we go into a jail, it's what we call a contact visit. I sit with people as closely as I'm sitting here with you, and we talk. And the jail allows us to bring in material, and the jail allows us, this is almost never done, to carry messages out. Because we're in Chicago and we can tap into the communities and we've built relationships, we can call families all over the world. And my phone bill shows that. But my husband and I are working on that. Often we are the first phone call to a family that says your son, your husband, your daughter is alive. They're in jail, but they are alive. They've survived. There's hope. And what that allows us to do is offer pastoral care literally on a global basis. And it's another way that we connect with the immigrant communities as we seek to call into various countries around the world in languages that our volunteers don't necessarily speak. So that's just a thumbnail on the Interfaith Committee for Detained Immigrants. We do walk with people through that entire process. From detention, we accompany people by going to court with them. Post-detention accompaniment, we can get people to their homes if they're allowed to stay in the U.S. We can do resettlement work with people. And for those who are deported, we're the last Americans they see in Chicago, because we can go into the deportation center, we can sit with people. We're allowed on the bus, where as a final goodbye from Chicago, we can pray with people and give them hope that God will be with them on their journey.
Thank you, Jen.